What is up, Jags fans? Here we are. Here we are. There's no way around it. Here we are. We had a nice long season. We had a lot of good shows. We had a lot of good film breakdowns and previews and good conversations. But here we are. We're at the end of the season. It's very disappointing. I had a rough couple days. I probably look like it. Sunday was not good for me. I didn't even watch any other football games. Me and my friends that watched the Jags game, we had to actually preoccupy ourselves and actively not talk about the Jags on Sunday. Took some time Monday to decompress a little bit, and here we are on Tuesday. So my attempt here today is not to get you lower than you are. We're going to highlight some of the things that were good. We're going to look at some things we can build on. We're going to try to hold some people responsible. And we're going to see where it goes from there. I really appreciate you guys being here. It takes a big man or woman to be here the day after, a couple days after a loss. So I appreciate you guys being here. You guys are the usuals, the regulars, the Jags fans through and through. I appreciate you guys being here. Make sure you are subscribed to everything. I'm just going to pump this now. In the channel description is my other channel that I kind of soft launched in the summer, where we're going to be talking about all other sports, politics, philosophy, religion, everything you shouldn't be talking about, we're going to be talking about on that channel. We may dial back the episodes on this channel in the offseason, but so make sure you're subscribed to my other channel for the shows that are going on there. Get in the comments. This is still a fan show, even though our team is out. Let me know. Here's what I want to hear from you guys. Okay, I'm having a hard time, boys. You guys know me. I know you guys. You know I'm having a hard time. But here's what I want to get from you. What are some things, some fond memories from the season? What are some things we can build off of? Who has the most to blame? And what can we do to fix this team in the offseason? I kind of have who I think should be to blame. I'll get to that in a little bit. I'm also on Twitch. My Twitch is in there too. I kind of went through some of my venting on Twitch the last couple days. C Breacher, channel member, first one in the chat, was there for that. He says he's the first one in the chat. He says, "Yo," he's been through the venting. He's actually me and him have been playing some Rainbow Six Siege. It's been great for taking my mind off of the Jags. So thank you for that, C Breacher. I appreciate that. I hope the servers are back up today so that we can continue to climb. Kevin Thibodeau is here. Sorry, I'm not ignoring you guys. I just want to turn the brightness up on my. Okay, there we go. Kevin Thibodeau says he's here. Again, I respect it. Shay, channel member, says, "Let's do this." Shay. I tweeted Shay on my Twitch. Somebody said, "Fire everybody." Caldwell, Peterson, Taylor, Balky, and Shay. They lumped Shay in there. That gave me a little bit of joy. But then someone later said promote Shay to GM, which I think I'd be more on board for. That made my day. William says here, and hopefully for the off season, I have no reason to be hopeful. I know. Listen, we're gonna get through this, boys. We're gonna get through this. Kyle Simmons says the theme of 2024 should be trenches. Jarrett Williams says I'm here and I'm salty. That's fair. Kevin Thibodeau says life lessons needed. I don't have a life lesson ready to go tonight. If one happens organically, then I'll share. But I'm as down bad as you all are. But I was thinking of silver linings, and this isn't much of one. But I think I'm coming out of my depression. And it's been a couple of days. If you think back to 2017, I was legitimately depressed for a week plus. So I'm not as disappointed in 2017. 2017, with the Miles Jack wasn't down, I was down bad, boys. Down bad. Like, it was affecting my day-to-day emotions. Honestly, I get to the point now with this team here, and maybe this is just me trying to salvage some sort of emotional strength, that this team would have gotten blown out in the first round of the playoffs had they made it anyways. Had they stumbled their way into the first round, they would have gotten housed by the Browns in the first round at home. And I would have bought a ticket. I would have paid a lot of money. I would have built that game up in my mind, and we would have gotten housed in that game. So a blessing in disguise, maybe. Mike Caldwell fired. Is that a blessing in disguise? Maybe. I tweeted, I hope the new defensive coordinator can tackle. Because it didn't matter who was calling plays, those 11 on the field weren't tackling. So maybe there's some sort of practice schedule, drills that are prioritized that could have helped tackling that the coach could have set up. But I tend to think that the players on the field were the ones that were missing tackles. One thing that stood out to me listening to people talk was a lot of people were talking about the lack of gap integrity and gap discipline. I heard that a lot. It really stood out to me. And what that means is the players on the field weren't doing what they were supposed to do. Now, I get you have to fire somebody. You have to fire somebody. You can't have an epic collapse like the Jags did and retain everybody. It's not reality. Trent Baalke's not leaving. Doug Peterson's not leaving. We know Press Taylor's not leaving. So who's the next man on the totem pole? Forgive me. I know I try to keep this show family friendly, at least at the beginning. But I'm struggling here, boys. The old saying is, shit rolls downhill. So if Baalke's not going, and Peterson's not going, and Taylor's not going, the next one is Mike Caldwell. Now, does he have some sort of blame to take here? Yes. Do I think he might have been unfairly fired? I know what you're thinking. Jason, are you kidding me? The defense was horrendous. The takeaways earlier in the season hid the defensive deficiencies. I get all of that. But I don't think Mike Caldwell is to blame. Is he partially to blame? Yes. Is Peterson partially to blame? Yes. Is Press Taylor partially to blame? Yes. Is Trent Baalke partially to blame? No. Trent Baalke is entirely who to blame. Entirely who to blame. I'll get to that in a second. We'll get to some comments here. We're gonna look at some team stats. We're gonna look at some things. I'm gonna try not to get too upset, because as much as I love the Jags and I pour my heart and soul into the Jags, I can't let the decisions of others affect my life. I can't let the ignorant, stupid decisions of other people affect my life. So I'm going to try to keep it upbeat here. Kyle Simmons talked about the trenches. William says, as much as we need O-line help, I think we need a wide receiver in the first round. Ben Perry says, hire Don Martindale as the new defensive coordinator. He was the Buffalo DC, I believe. That was that he quit. He didn't even get fired. Charlie Boy says, I can't with this team. Jaggernaut says, Jason, man, so utterly disappointed. Ben Perry says, Fred Taylor as running backs coach. I mean, why not? I don't think they fired the running backs coach, though. Timmy Devil, who I was expecting tonight, and I do want to hear what he has to say, because at the end of the day, we spent a lot of time in this show talking down on Timmy Devil. And maybe in the back of our heads, we just didn't want it to be true. But it's turning out that a lot of the things that Timmy Devil said throughout the year were, in fact, true. He says, not enough movement, for so I will not be purchasing any tickets next year. Defense was not our only weakness. And that's the reality. He's right there. Now, for me personally, I'm going to keep buying tickets. Now, this is where Timmy Devil and me will butt heads sometimes. I keep in perspective the fact that there are only 32 NFL teams, and a few of those teams play in the same city. So fewer than 30 cities in America have NFL teams. I count myself lucky and blessed to have an NFL team in the city that I live, and I don't take that for granted. At any time, Shad Khan can move this team. At any time, this city could be without. Look at St. Louis. Look at what Cleveland went through for a few years. Look at Oakland. So I'm going to keep buying tickets. Now, can I keep buying tickets and hold people responsible? Yes, I can. But I get it. Jarrett Williams says, Balky doesn't like to draft wide receivers. William says, I second that. TJ says, it's really over. William says, I know. I'm hoping that he ain't the one drafting. Need to draft better, says Jaggernaut. That's going to be my thesis here in a second. William says, I still have no reason to believe that he will be let go. Shay says, draft all the O-linemen out there. Robert Atzert says, well, we have a 4-3 next to our suit. Well, we have a 4-3 next to suit our players. The defense, maybe. William says, funny that when Todd Wash was here, everyone wanted a 3-4, and now it feels like everybody wants a 4-3. Robert Atcher says he's still decompressing. Absolutely, me too. CJ DSO says fire press. Average YouTuber says, better not see that kid Luke Fortner ever in a Jags uniform. Ever again, the worst center in the league. Now, I know it made us all feel a little uneasy to hear Doug Peterson back Luke Fortner, and that pissed me off initially too. But at the same time, he also backed his coaches and then fired half of them. So I don't think we can take what he said in that press conference to be face value, even with Luke Fortner. Kevin Thibodeau says, Bill's game was my favorite, where I really thought we fixed things. Stephen Giles says, any thoughts on why we fired Bernie Parlamy? All of the units on offense, the running backs were probably the most consistent. I didn't see that we had fired him, so I'm out of the loop. Sea Breacher, the channel member and Rainbow Six carrier, says, one of my favorite moments this season was Josh Allen going from a good pass rusher to the best pass rusher. Absolutely. Josh Allen, Evan Ingram, I fell in love with Evan Ingram this year. He was only a few catches away from breaking the NFL record. The NFL record. I think I have it. I mean, I don't know if I have it here, but he was not that far off from the NFL record for pass catches by a tight end. That's impressive. Echo Athletics says, yo, San Diego Bold City Brigade checking in. Honestly, let's just get better. Crazy we had back-to-back winning seasons in the first time in a long time. Let's go get Vrabel as our DC. I think Vrabel will be New England's next head coach. And that would be a great hire for New England. Shay says, GM is most to blame. If the roster was constructed better, the team would be better. We have no O-line push, which disrupted the entire offense and wasted our weapons. Now, I'm going to get to the rest of these comments, but I do want to kind of piggyback off of Shay's comment. I entirely believe Trent Baalke is the one to blame. Okay, let's take a look at the drafts here. So, whether or not you guys want to believe it, Urban Meyer drafted in 2021. He did. He drafted Trevor. He drafted Travis Etienne. He drafted Cisco. He drafted Walker Little. Did Baalke have input? Yes. But Urban Meyer was given czar status when he was hired, similar to Bill Belichick, and he drafted those players. I know y'all don't want to believe it because everybody wants to crap on Urban Meyer, but he was the one who had the final say on that draft. He would not have come to Jacksonville to be just the head coach and not be able to be the czar GM as well. I hate to break it to y'all. So let's look at the next two drafts. The next two drafts by Trent Baalke. Okay? Now, when it comes to free agency, there's a lot of variables. Like, who's even available when you sign your free agents? Like Christian Kirk when he was signed for the contract he was, people crapped on it because he got a lot of money. But the reality of it is that Christian Kirk in that free agent draft class was one of the best wide receivers available. So depending on who's a free agent, depends on who you can get in free agency. And I would give Baalke a B or a C on free agency signing. I think he signed some good people. Okay, I thought the signing of Evan Ingram was a home run. I thought the signing of Oluokun was a home run. Okay, I think bringing in Calvin Ridley was a great decision. Now, he chose to restructure some people to clear up some cap space this year to make a run. That was probably ill-advised. And we talked about on this show, it was not a good decision to do these things. The Rayshon Jenkins extension, not a good move. The Roy Robertson-Harrison extension, not a good move. The Foley Fatukasi extension, not a good move. The Devon Hamilton extension, not a good move. And I love Devon Hamilton. The Brandon Sheriff extension, not a good move. But when it comes to free agency, I will actually give him a B or a C. And I would even go out on a limb and say most GMs will give you a B or a C on free agent signings. But you can't build a team on free agency. The league is set up with the salary cap where you can't do that. Now, if this were baseball and there were no salary cap, yes, build your team through free agency. But this is football. And you have to draft your team. So let's look at the last two drafts quickly that Trent Baalke was responsible for. And let's take a look. And we're going to give them an actual grade. I'm going to give them an actual grade here, and you'll see what I'm doing here. All right? Anton Harrison. I will give him an A+ on Anton Harrison. I'll give him an A+. Only because he actually traded down to get him. He collected picks and still got one of the best players in the draft, in my opinion. So we'll give him an A+. Brenton Strange. We're going to give him an F on Brenton Strange. Not only was he drafted incredibly high, he did nothing for us this year. Tank Bigsby. We're going to give an F for Tank Bigsby. Ventrell Miller. I can't even give you an F on Ventrell Miller. Not only was he one of the oldest players in the draft, he contributed 0 to our team. So you know when you start a course in college and you realize that either you don't gel with the professor or the class is too hard or you're not going to make it, you withdraw. So we're going to give him a withdrawal grade here. And it's still weighed the same as an F, but I can't even give you an F for that. Such a terrible pick. In the fourth round. Tyler Lacey, an F. Yasir Abdullah, I'm going to give him a D for Yasir Abdullah because I think he might have something for us, but not really. Antonio Johnson, I'm going to give him a C. Parker Washington, I'm going to give him a B-. Christian Braswell, F. Eric Hallett, an F. Cooper Hodges, I'm going to give you a D because people are high on Cooper Hodges. But he did nothing, so a D. Raymond Vohasek, F. Derek Parrish, F. Didn't make the team, didn't make the team, didn't make the team. So let's calculate this GPA. All right? We're going to give him a 4.0. We're going to give him a 0, a 0, a 0, a 0, a 1, a 2. This is a 3. This is a 3. We'll give him a 3. 0, 0, 1, 0, 0. Okay? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 11 and a 13. I'm going to do this on my phone. just so that I don't have to embarrass myself here with math. 0.84. That's an F. That's an F grade. On the draft with your Super Bowl window, you got an F. And that's with an A+ grade factored in. That's how bad he was. An F. All right? We'll go quickly through this next one. The year before, Travon Walker. I'll give him a B+ on Travon Walker. Devin Lloyd. I'm going to give you a C because he actually ended up grading out okay, but you gave up draft capital and came back and got him. Luke Fortner. I'm going to give him a D. I want to give him an F, but he's played, so I'm going to give him a D. Chad Muma, another D. Snoop Connor, an F. Gregory Jr., an F. Monteric Brown, I'll give him a C on Monteric Brown because he got him in the 7th round and he's played decent. All right, so we have a 3.3. We have a 2. We have a 1, a 1, a 0, a 0, and a 2. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. A 9.3 into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Spoiler alert. .75. An F. Your main job as a GM was to draft players to not only help Trevor, but to help this team make a run, and you hit on 1.5 people out of all these players. You had 20 picks, and 2 of them were good. And they happened to be the number 1 overall pick and your other first-round pick. That's it. He's an F. He's an F at drafting. So he's average at free agent signing, and he's an F at drafting. It's inexcusable. It is absolutely inexcusable. There's no reason why he should be making any picks on this team going forward. Absolutely egregious that he's even still in the building with drafts like this. Not to mention, traded up for Devin Lloyd. Not to mention, took another linebacker, another off-ball linebacker in the same draft when you had just signed a Luakon. Not to mention, you took Monteric Brown behind Gregory Jr. You took 2 running backs in Snoop Connor and Tank Bigsby that have been a non-factor. You could have gotten an undrafted free agent to do the jobs that he spent a 3rd and a 5th round pick on the last 2 years. It's absolutely disgusting, and I can't believe that he even still has a job. I'm backed up on comments, boys. I'm sorry. I had to get that out. Robert Ayers says, who to blame Trent Baalke for not drafting any interior O-line and the D-line the past 2 years, drafting positions high that are bench players? Seabreaker says, all jokes aside, my bad, Shay. I'm sure you're great at your job. Not only is Shay great at his job, he's a very great football mind, and he's a very great human. Average YouTuber says, I hate that phrase, gritty, not pretty. Jags should have never adopted that phrase. Jaggernaut says, Josh Allen is our best pass rusher, but he still doesn't feel like a game wrecker who can turn it on at the drop of a hat. I mean, he's gonna get money. Average YouTuber says, only lost by 4 to the GOAT. William says, my feeling is that Shad is to blame. I know he isn't a football guy, but he's either made terrible decisions for the front office, coaching, or has done nothing. He just needs someone to take over. Well, he tried that with Tom Coughlin, and it blew up in his face. Robert Ayers says, the high was seeing Calvin Ridley flash in training camp, however, never really saw it in the regular season. What do y'all think happens with Calvin Ridley? The more I hear people talk, the more I think he's not coming back. If you resign him, you lose a draft pick. You can draft someone in the 2nd round that can probably give you what Calvin Ridley gives you, and you don't have to pay him. So the more I chew on the whole Calvin Ridley situation, I don't think he's back next year. William says, similar to Tom Coughlin type deal, but not as bad as a guy. Average YouTuber says, Mike Vrabel surprisingly got fired. Robert Ayers says, over the past 3 years, we have only 2 Pro Bowlers. Explains a lot. I know I'm missing a lot here. I'm talking a lot. Nat says, I am here. I actually made it. And he says, oh, yeah, we did this on Twitch. Yeah, my boy Nat is on Twitch. He's with me on Twitch as well. Listen, those are good vibes. Those are good vibes. Kevin Thibodeau says, you didn't want to explain why Tank is an F. LOL, that cheered me up. He's an F because he doesn't play. I mean, we look at the offensive grades here. I mean, if we look at the PFF, we have to go all the way down to 27. Tank Bigsby only played in 140 snaps. Anton Harrison played in all of them. Well, most of them. Let's see. What's the average there? If we have 11, 12 divided by 140. Tank Bigsby played in 11% of the snaps. You drafted a guy in the 3rd round to play in 11% of your offensive snaps, and he wasn't even injured. He drafted that many players. Can we look at who we could have gotten? No, Nat, we're not going down. That's a bad spiral there. That dude, Evan, channel member, says, my boss had scheduled me to work this Saturday, so I was going to have to take it off to go to the game. Luckily, the Jags really came through and went 1-6 down the stretch, so I can work this weekend. I love it, Evan. Isaiah Jones says, Jags going to jag. Show Shad Khan because he has no clue. Shad Khan's just the owner, man. He's not one of these Jerry Jones types that gets involved. He just owns the team. I hesitate to blame Shad Khan because he's just a guy who owns the team. And he's not one of these involved owners. Could he do more? Yes, he could do more. But he's not out there like actively destroying us. Trent Baalke is out there actively destroying us. It is horrible, not just horrible, it's embarrassing. That's a lot of picks, says Timmy Devil. Why does this franchise like staying poverty and giving us false hope, says Isaiah Jones. Ben Wilmoth says, are you concerned about Doug and his lack of accountability on the offensive side of the ball? The fans won't stop bringing up what happened with the Eagles. Not much public regret from him. I mean, I do kind of like want to blame Trent Baalke, but then I watched this video here, which is a compilation of Trevor Lawrence throwing perfect balls to his wide receivers and them not scoring touchdowns. And like, I'm just going to let this play out as I read the comments, but it is hard for me after watching this to blame Trevor Lawrence, Press Taylor, or Doug Peterson. Because this is a series of 15 passes that should have been touchdowns that weren't. Christ is redeeming bread of life, says new GM, new quarterback. New GM, yes. New quarterback, no. Jaggernaut says freaking unreal. She says, if we fire Baalke, he will not get another job in the NFL. Nobody but Shad would employ him as a GM. He's not well liked, and it showed when he tried to trade mid-year for an edge guy. Kev B says, better not hear any more mantras next season. Not when there are a dozen fundamentals to fix. Simple, like run the ball, don't turn it over. Play like you want to win. This team just has no fight. This team just has absolutely no fight. They had no emotion. They had no pulse. It seemed like they were the least energetic team in the NFL. Every week when we played another team, the other team had more energy, had more grit, and had more want to than the Jags did. Cam Robinson was singularly, maybe we can bring in Josh Allen there, but Cam Robinson and Josh Allen were the only people who seemed like they wanted to win. Rambo says we should we should draft offensive guard Zach Zinter from Michigan. He seems like a bulky guy. Jaguars are 43-116 under Shad Khan. Jeff Blazeman says, we are in for another bad season with this GM and head coach. I can't stand this. Fire everyone. I mean, we have had back-to-back 9-8 seasons, which is not good, considering that you using your entire salary cap, you traded up for multiple first-round picks. You traded early picks for guys like Devin Lloyd and Calvin Ridley. Kev B says, but if they want a mantra for 24, they can use the most common word players and coaches have said the last few days and use that word for a few name the Jacksonville disappointments. Jagger says, I hope Shad and our coaches are watching this. They're probably not. They don't watch film. I genuinely believe they don't watch film. There's no way you can. Because we sat here together, you guys and me, and we broke down the film of opposing teams and what they were going to do, and we could tell you exactly what they were going to do. And we couldn't stop it. You're going to let Derrick Henry run all over you. Derrick Henry had the most rush yards of his entire season against us. In a game that mattered the most, in a game where we needed it, everything's on the line. You can't stop Derrick Henry. And it's not that you can't stop Derrick Henry. You don't even put enough people in the box to stop Derrick Henry. Charlie Boy says, would you bring back Cam? Well, I think he has one more year on his deal. So I think that's an easy yes, I think. Joe says, Jags have no heart, just a bunch of paycheck collectors. Joe, I hate to agree with you because I always want to defend players. I always want to defend coaches, but I agree with you. It seemed like 19 of our 22 starters were just collecting paychecks. Nick Ludwig says, you're crazy if you think Balky will draft anyone affiliated with Jim Harbaugh. Brenneman, what up, Brenneman, says, I felt like our team had two good relationships. Seems like players went in to play football and go home. It's pathetic. That dude Evan says, Kalavon changed his username from Sack Guru to Kalavon Chazon. Nick Ludwig says, Trent Balky and Harbaugh are enemies, and we've seen how their two careers have played out since their falling out. Harbaugh's a national champion, and Balky drafted Brenton Strange in the second round. Jags says, Kirk was our whole offense. Matt Guidry says, I'm not sure if you showed it, but the third and goal play and the one might have been the worst play of the year. I'm not showing any plays from that game. Not. I talked about this on my Twitch yesterday. I'm not showing any plays from that game. Absolutely not. I'm not even going to rewatch it. I've never rewatched the Jags-Patriots game from 2017, and I'll never rewatch the Jags-Titans game from 2023. Kevin Thibodeau, I told you that on Twitter. They don't watch the tape at all, man. I think that's what hurts the most is they shout Duval like they do stuff. Nat says, it seems like whoever we let go become a superstar after we let them go. That shows you it's the coach's fault. Fire Balky. This season felt rigged, I'm not going to lie. I don't know, Isaiah. I don't think it was rigged. I mean, we just didn't show up. We just did not show up in any of these final games. The only game that we showed up was against the Panthers. And to be honest, we won with field goals. So we didn't show up at all at the end of the season. I get it, injuries. But every team deals with injuries. How many teams in the playoffs are rolling in with quarterback 2? And we're going to talk about injuries? Ben Haney says this offseason is going to be worse than the 2022 offseason. Jeff Blazeman says, remember, said Trevor, it feels like we don't practice. Yeah, I know. And Trevor's dad liking that video, the comment about, like, I'm not even getting into that. Let's look at the offensive grades. There's his defense. Offensive grades. Trevor, number 1. It's good to see. Not a single guy with over an 80 grade, though. ETN. Trevor, Etienne, and Ingram, it's hard to blame those guys. It really is hard to blame those guys. I mean, it seems like they were the only 3 on the offense that wanted to win. It really did. Now, Calvin Ridley, again, I would love to keep Calvin Ridley. I think there's not very many receivers better than Calvin Ridley. The problem is, because of the way that we structured that trade, is if we re-sign him, we give up a second-round pick. And I think I would rather have the second-round pick. And I get it. Balky's picking, so maybe not. But on paper, a second-round pick is probably more valuable than what Ridley gave us this year. Christian Kirk. Unfortunately, he got hurt. Big part of the offense. Logan Cook with his 1 pass. Brandon Sheriff. Now we're below 70 in grades. Cam, Zay Jones. Some special teams plays here with some of these guys. We scroll down. Agnew, unfortunately, just injured, probably not going to come back. Luke Farrell had a good start and kind of tailed off. Dearness Johnson is what he is. Ben Barch is MIA, cut. Anton Harrison didn't grade out well, but that's okay. Not his fault. I'm not going to blame. Again, I'm not going to look at the grades here too much. Elijah Cooks only played 108 snaps. Tank Bigsby, trash. Tim Jones, great blocker, not a great receiver. Parker Washington didn't play a lot. Brenton Strange, terrible. Shatley, terrible. Ezra Cleveland graded out terrible. Don't even know who Jacob Harris is. Just kidding. Luke Fortner needs to be cut. Josh Peterson, cool story, 8 snaps. Blake Hance, one of the worst offensive grades I've ever seen. I don't have a lot to say, boys. I mean, you guys are saying it all. Charlie Boy says, who do you want for defensive coordinator? And thanks for all the videos you did this season, United. Charlie Boy, honestly, thank you guys for being here. Doing these videos is fun for me. I really enjoy it. I would do it if no one was in the chat, but the fact that you guys are here like religiously makes this one of my favorite things to do. I really enjoy it. I really do. And like, I do want to take a quick second to thank all the people that are here every show. Like, seriously, guys. Like, I know that time is valuable. And we've spent a lot of time on this team. And that's what kind of hurts, I think, is the amount of time that we've spent on this team. And for them to, like it seems like we care more than they do, which I think is the biggest problem. But I genuinely do. I mean, I look through these commenters from Shay to Timmy Devil and everyone in between. I seriously appreciate you guys being here. Like, I really, really do. Like, yeah, we're 9-8. We haven't had a lot of winning seasons in my lifetime as a career Jags fan. But this one just doesn't feel good. When you implode the way that we did, it's hard to feel good. And I'm upset. And you guys are upset. And this is probably therapeutic for us to go through this. And we're going to come back next year and be on them like we were this year. But it does hurt a little bit. But seriously, guys, thank you. We had channel members that have gone on for like consecutive years. People are commenting all the time. So I appreciate it. Timmy Devil says, Kirk hit 1,000 last year. Screw the second-round pick. We don't know how to draft. Matthew Guidry says, 2 possibilities. Either Press Taylor has blackmail on Doug or they're secret lovers in the night. I don't know if this is true, but I tend to think that we wouldn't see much difference in Doug Peterson calling plays and Press Taylor calling plays. I really don't think so. Doug Peterson's on the headset. Every play that comes through, Peterson hears. I mean, they've been together for so long, I can't imagine that Press Taylor would do anything that Doug Peterson wouldn't. And we just saw the drops and the missed opportunities. I'm actually not as hard on Press Taylor as y'all are. I'm not. And I know, I get it. But I think that this team, I always say this all the time, it's Jimmy's and Joe's, not X's and O's. This team just was not built correctly. There was no depth, 0 depth on this team. Can you think of one player that came off the bench and they even gave us something? I'm trying to think. Who came off of the bench? Who was a depth piece that played that gave us something? Dewey Wingard? Not really. Ezra Cleveland? We traded for him. He was a starter when we traded for him. I got nobody. Antonio Johnson didn't play enough. Nobody. You had 0 depth on this team. Dearness Johnson, maybe. Mr. Pocket Hercules says fire Balky. Nat says look at Beathard to the top. Washington State Jags fan. What up, Washington Jags fan? Show member. Says, man, what a bummer. I know. And we're kind of decompressing here, Washington State. We're trying. Gary K says, this is how the Colts felt 2 years ago and how the Titans felt last year due to injuries. Chef Florida Boy says, I cried in the car, literally. My heart broke for the people that went to the game. My heart broke for him. Robert Ayers says, United, do you agree with the amount of times they went for it on fourth last game? Or do you think they should have kicked field goals? I think they should have kicked field goals. And typically I'm in the vein of go for it. But we literally watched the film, and we watched the Texans beat the Titans in a game where they scored one offensive touchdown. They kicked like 5 field goals. They scored a defensive touchdown, and they scored one offensive touchdown. We saw that was a recipe to beat the Titans. But it's like I said, it's like we didn't watch the film. Kick the field goals. Now, ultimately, I don't think it would have mattered because that last drive, if we had kicked the 2 field goals instead of going for it on fourth down that we didn't convert, we still would have been down by 2. And on that particular drive, we couldn't get the ball past midfield. So I don't think it would have really mattered. But it would at least would have given us maybe a different dynamic or mentality going into that final drive of the game where instead of needing a touchdown, we could have kicked a field goal to take the lead. Mr. Pocket Hercules says, I was ready to pop champagne if the Jags won. If you see me and Devon Hamilton in a fight, help the NFL player. I would maybe pick someone else besides Devon Hamilton. He's a big boy. He's a big boy. RM Skip, channel member, says, came late, had much on my mind. I'm sure it's been mentioned, so I'll just look it all over. Shaking my head. I'm at a loss. The defense was the question this year, but they showed up more than the O this year. I mean, our wins at the beginning of the season were primarily on the defense. They won us the games in the first half of the season. You're right. Brenneman says, Urban Meyer, bulky draft was one of the best drafts we've ever had. With Peterson, 2 bad drafts in a row. Is it Peterson or is it bulky? So again, we don't know 100% because we are not given that information. But if we use deductive reasoning, I think Urban Meyer had the final say on that 2021 draft, and I think Balky had the final say on the 22 and 23 draft. And the 21 draft was great, and the 22-23 draft was one of the worst combinations of drafts I've ever seen, and I've been a Jags fan since the beginning. Kev88 says the 3rd and 6 conversion on a screen and pile push will haunt those Jags defenders for their entire career. Good. Because that was a situation where the play calling was even, and it came down to who was stronger and who wanted it more, and the Titans won. The Titans won. Sharney says, sorry I'm late. I didn't want to be here. I know. I'm going down a dark road here, boys. I was trying to stay more optimistic than this. Nick Ludwig says, what worries me about Doug is that he's trending to be the 3rd best coach in our division. He may end up being the worst in the division after Tennessee signs their guy. Timmy Devil says, we have 11 pounds. I don't know what that means, thankfully. Chef Woodward says, I said it before, Urban not a coach, but does know how to talent evaluate on a different level. I'm with you. I agree with you there. Let's look at the defense. Josh Allen, stellar. Darius Williams, stellar. Again, we can probably look at a couple of guys on both sides of the ball that really carried the whole team, and those 2 were primarily them 2. Alucon, I think, tailed off at the end of the season, but I thought generally had a good season. Wingard is what he is. Devin Lloyd graded out decent, but didn't play good, so let's not get caught up in that. Antonio Johnson, maybe. Herndon, definitely. You got to remember, Herndon was cut and then re-signed. So the fact that a guy that was cut and re-signed with over 480 snaps is the top 7 player. Andre Sisco disappeared at the end of the season. Now we're below 65. Gregory Jr., not good. Roy Robertson Harrison, not good. Something that you guys want to talk about, and I get it that it's injuries. Tyson Campbell was not good this year. For all this talk of top corner in the league, he was not good this year. Now, Only played in 589 snaps. Not a lot. I get it. Wasn't good. Seemed like he was afraid to tackle. He couldn't get off blocks. Was okay in man coverage. Was not good in zone coverage. Fatukasi, incredibly disappointing. Gotsis is what he is, rotational piece. Played only 400 snaps. Rayshawn Jenkins, disappointing. These are some special teams plays here. Tyler Lacey, glad we drafted him to play in 145 snaps. Trevon Walker didn't grade out well, but it's just because, I think this was his run blocking grade or run tackling grade. Yes, tackling grade wasn't good. And I'll be honest with you. Trevon Walker was not a good tackler this year. He got pressures, he got sacks, but he was not a good tackler. He wasn't. For a guy who has all the intangibles, couldn't seem to do the basic thing that defensive players have to do. How many times did he have his hand on the quarterback and the quarterback squirted free and got a huge gain? Smoot, disappointing. Muma, disappointing. Devon Hamilton, disappointing. Yasir Abdullah, Wonder Boy, 45 snaps. Sharney says, so toss a shit ton of money at Vrabel to get him to be DC. He's going to be a head coach, man. Like, I can see the Falcons hiring him. I can see the Patriots hiring him. He's going to be a head coach. Can you play a song with the fiddle in the background? Brennan, I can. The problem is it would take me probably about 5 minutes to tune it because it's out of tune. And violin, if you know anything about violin, tuning it takes a second because they have like the tuning knobs at the top that are like kind of like the major tuners, and then you have the fine tuners at the bottom. And we're already 51 minutes in. Maybe on Twitch. Can't be worse than the Taven Bryan draft, says Gidry. No, that's true. Isaiah Jones says, my confidence is at an all-time low with this franchise. I can't defend the players, coaches, and front office anymore. Anything positive that I say about them goes down the drain eventually. Fatukasi needs his ass beat. Buckner banged the table for Fatukasi because he coached him at the Jets. Sharney says, it's so funny having a winning season and feeling this bad because we were terrible. We were absolutely terrible. I mean, let's look at we know this. Season started so well. Win, loss, win, 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 win. Week 8, we're feeling good. Loss, 49ers. That's when things started falling off. We beat the Titans, we beat the Texans. We're okay. We bounced back. And then we just go on the most abysmal run of all time. And this is why no one feels good. This is why. I don't know. I don't know what to say, guys. I mean, I don't know what to say. I can see a fit for Vrabel at the Commanders. Did you see Shipley say that Zay ran the wrong route on that second interception? I mean, Nick, that's a good point. That happened all year. Isaiah Jones says he sucked, and talking about Trevon Walker, he sucked open field tackling, and I noticed that early on. Timmy Devil says, sad thing is the free agents look horrible. No one's in free agency. Nat says, will you be on Twitch later? Yeah, I'm going to be on Twitch after this. I know I say it all the time, but I am tonight. How about Ron Rivera for DC? How about Jack Del Rio for DC? I'm a big Jack Del Rio guy. Chef Florida Boy, not the Jags' final from Trevor career will be similar to Brett Favre when it's done. I hope so. Raw Jeep says, management's also got to be careful being too negative due to recency bias. Kirk got hurt, says Jags. Nat says, hey, Jags are screwed. Go Cowboys. I don't know who I'm rooting for. I don't know if I'll watch much of the playoffs. I'm honest. I'll be honest with you guys. I don't know. I mean, I kind of like The Texans, which is weird to say because they're a division rival. I like the Texans. I like their team. Can't think of anyone else that I don't really like any other teams. Rainbow Six or Rust. I'm gonna try to play Rainbow Six, but the servers have been down. I've had a little resurgence of Rainbow Six lately. We'll see if Sea Breacher will carry me later. Kev88 says, I can't call this a winning season by the eye test. They're a 5-12 team, considering they couldn't beat a 5-win Titans team. Brenneman says, Fred Taylor said he'd be open for being the new running backs coach on Twitter. I mean, I don't know how much running backs coaches in the NFL have an effect. I mean, what are you going to teach a grown man that's played running back his entire life? I mean, positional coaches are just essentially film guys. They're practice guys. I mean, they're motivated. I mean, again, when you get to the NFL, what are these positional coaches doing? Yeah, maybe there's a rookie that comes in that needs to be developed. I'll give you that. But you're going to tell me that these, veterans need a position coach? Break the bank for T. Higgins, says D. Steiny. Trevor's number one at Clemson. We'll bring the whole band back together. Lamar Jackson says Ayers. Nick Ludwig says, I guess go Browns. Would be cool to see Flacco win one. The Texans, I know. I don't hate the Texans. I hate the Colts. I've told people this because I grew up, I'm 34. So when I was 5 years old, the Jags became a team. So I had no team before the Jags. When I was young, I hated the Colts. I hated Peyton Manning. I hated Tony Dungy. I know he's a great guy, but I hated the Colts. I can't shake the hate for the Colts. The Texans, obviously the Titans did what they did in 99, and I hate the Titans too. I never in my life will root for the Colts or the Titans. The Texans are just one of these meh teams to me. Now, will they eventually become one of our rivals where I end up hating them? Maybe. But as of now, I don't have much hate for DeMeco Ryans and C.J. Stroud. Split the series with them. I want the Browns to drop 50 on the Texans. Matt Guidry, keep an eye out for Markin Manuel as our defense coordinator. He's the Jets safety coach. He's worked with Doug in the past. And I thought about this earlier. You bring up a good point there, Matt. I wonder if the firing of Mike Caldwell and the way that Doug Peterson runs his team and having Trent Baalke here is going to discourage coaches from wanting to coach here. We had to get a first-time defensive coordinator to be our defense coordinator. Was that because he was the most qualified person? Maybe. Was that because nobody else wanted to work with Doug Peterson and Trent Baalke? Maybe. Peyton Manning was my favorite quarterback, and I'm a Jags fan. I hated Peyton Manning. God, I hated Peyton Manning. I've come around now to where he's entertaining and funny and all that. But, when he was a player, man, I hated Peyton Manning. Can't wait for the mock draft season, says Chef Florida Boy. Jaggernaut says, will this past season affect attracting free agents next year? I don't think so, because you have to overpay for free agents anyways. Very rarely do we have the Calais Campbell type situations where a couple million here or there determines. Remember the year when he chose to come here over Denver because we offered him $18 million. That's a few and far between situation. Typically, free agents are trying to make as much money as they can. They're typically on their second or third contract, obviously by the nature of being a free agent. So they're trying to make money. So I don't think it'll affect it. So we'll see. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I'm feeling a little down right now. I'm feeling a little depressed. Talking about this is kind of having me down right now. And I'm enjoying talking to you guys, but I'm just not feeling good. I'm just not feeling good talking about the Jags. I avoided talking about the Jags for a long time. I didn't talk much about it in the last couple weeks. I had the people at work like you guys did who would make their stupid comments. I didn't know what they were talking about. I had an Uber driver the other day who was a lifelong Jags fan and knew his stuff, but when he would talk, I was just like, dude, I don't even know what you're talking about. So I've tried to avoid talking about them. I don't feel good right now, boys. I don't feel good. I have a little bit of spirit of depression on me right now, and I don't like to ever be like that. So Is it maybe worth it to extend Trevor at a discounted right now or too risky? No, I mean, I think Trevor, you're not going to get Trevor at a discount. I think you're going to have to pay him top money. 100 miles per hour says, didn't get to watch, but damn. That's it. That's it, 100 miles per hour. That is it in a nutshell. Nick Ludwig says, going to drink the pain away like me. Sunday was not good for your boy. All the time. I think we had a little lapse in stream there. Hashem says, gonna miss the live streams. I will pray for you, dog. We're still gonna do live streams. I mean, we may dial it back to once a week now that there's no season. But like I said, I'm going to be on my other channel more, and it's gonna be fun. We're gonna talk about everything. We're just gonna talk like friends hanging out. We're gonna talk about literally everything under the sun. I'm really excited. I feel really like inspired and encouraged to do this channel where we talk about things. We can talk about the Jags, but we can talk about other things as well. So again, if you haven't yet subscribed to it, it's called the Trent Show. It's in the video description. Click on it. Subscribe to it now. I'm going to try to do a bunch of shows. Like, I'm going to try to just be on there a lot, just talking everything. So the Spanish philosophy stream. We're going to talk about everything. You guys know me. I love all things, everything. We'll talk politics, sports, entertainment, statistics, philosophy. I know it may sound boring. Like, listen, I don't want to go back to school. It's not going to be school. It's going to be fun. Okay, it's going to be fun. So subscribe to that channel. I think that's it for me, boys. We'll end with Timmy Devil's comment because that just seems appropriate. I'm not saying someone commits arson, but if a certain individual's car was to catch on fire, not named Malky, I would not be upset. Did you see the lady ran her car intentionally into the Jaguars practice facility? Did y'all see that news? Like, like that happened. Like, a lady intentionally ran her car into the Jaguars practice facility. So, Seabreacher says, is it a live show? It is going to be a live show. I'm kind of going back and forth between like doing it in the morning before work or doing it at night. I think I'm just going to do it at night. I'm not a morning person, so. Corey T says that lady was channeling what we all feel. I get it. I get it. All right, that's going to wrap it up for me, boys. Listen, I seriously, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate all of you this season. The Jags sucked, and it was disappointing, but I had a lot of fun talking with you guys. We did this twice a week for 18 weeks, boys. That's impressive. That's impressive. So I appreciate you guys all being here. Make sure, Chef Woodward says, where do I find the other channel? Click on the video description of this video, and you'll see a link for like YouTube, Twitch, and you'll see the Trent Show. Click on the Trent Show, subscribe to that one, and we're going to be doing that now. We'll probably dial this back to once a week. We'll talk Jags for a little bit, and we'll just talk about literally everything else on that other channel. It's going to be fun. You might as well check it out. What else are you going to do, right? We got to do something. Thank you, boys. I appreciate all the channel members. I appreciate all the commenters. You guys are awesome. We suffer together, says Brenneman. Make sure to like the video, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. You guys know what to do. I appreciate you guys. I don't say this lightly. I love all of you. Thank you for making this a fun season for me. I really do appreciate it. I will see you guys very soon next week on the channel and on the other channel and all that other stuff. I'll see you guys. And as always, even though disappointing, go Jags.
Take me back.